Hey, what's up guys? It's me, Retrovin, and I thought we'd do another review. Today we're going to do a review of a game that means quite a lot to me. Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. Without further ado, let's start talking about the story. So the game starts off with a mischievous young boy named Jak and his friend Daxter. Daxter doesn't really want to go to Misty Island, but Jak manages to convince him to go there. As they're exploring, they notice something weird. They see a bunch of lurkers just standing there and watching two people give this speech. And from that, they are concerned as to what's going on, so they continue to look around, and they find this dark eco silo and a precursor artifact that Daxter falls in. They don't really know what that is, but they question it, and well, eventually this happens. A giant skeleton man basically attacks them, and when Jak hits them, that causes an effect, and well, it turns Daxter into a little weasel man. And he pretty much enjoys that.
Okay, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Now, after Daxter's mental breakdown, they decided to meet the wise sage named Samos to see if he could help them with their problem. But, as it turns out, Samos doesn't really want to help, and he tells Daxter the change is an improvement. When all hope is lost, until Samos says that there's a sage named Gul Acheron, but he lives far to the north, so they need to find a way to get to him. Luckily for them, Kira has a zoomerator that they're able to use in the game, if they get enough power cells. So, as you can tell, the main plot line isn't a ton to write home about, but you kind of get the gist of it just by the plot, that throughout the game you need to collect power cells, you need to collect orbs, scout flies, all of that stuff to get what you need. So, it's your basic run-of-the-mill collectathon. And that's where we're going to kind of sidestep more into the gameplay, because I don't want to spoil the story, even though there's not a ton of it, to people who would really like the game. But I will say it's not the greatest story, because it is a, kids platformer, but for what it is, it has a solid storyline. It gets your basic plot out. And that's what I'd say about the story. It's decent, but not the greatest, of course. So, I'd say you'd have your basic moveset with this game. Basically, you have your punch, you have your spin, you have your slam move, you have your punch, upward, you have your spin jump, you have your roll. It's a very acrobatic kind of platformer, and there's a lot of cool moves you can pull off with it. I've never really had any issues with the controls, and I'd say that's one of the great things about the game, is the acrobatic controls. Throughout the game, you'll find various different kinds of eco. One of them being blue eco, which charges you up and lets you go fast. Another kind is green eco, which will refill your health, and if you get a large chunk of blue eco or green eco, your health will increase, or your speed will go up to full. There's also vents too, which will, for the blue eco, for example, and I guess for all of them technically, will refill your health. And it's a really good mechanic, because you have to time your eco powers to use them. Another eco you could find in the game is red eco. This eco basically makes your attack stronger, and when you hit enemies, it deals a large amount of damage to them. So, yeah, normally your attacks would take 2 hits to these guys, but when you hit them here, you basically kill them in 1 hit. So, basically, super big, buff Jak move. The last actually beneficial eco you can find is a yellow eco. And yellow eco basically makes your attacks projectiles, where you can shoot them at enemies with them. They're very helpful for crowd control, or, just taking out projectiles that are in the air or far away from you. And while this is the least important section, at least personally in my opinion, one thing I do have to give the game credit for is its graphics. There are many beautiful environments, like this waterfall over here, where you can just see the water pitter-patter down. And like the fact that stuff like this was like in a 2001 game, you know, you have all these like flame effects here. You have the weather system. Um, the game turns from day to night as you play it. It's got a very amazing system, and a lot of the levels are linked too. So like if you look far away from other levels, you can actually see said different locations you're in, and it's really nice to be able to see. And you know, there are many good environments like Sentinel Beach. Again, here, Rock Village. You know, there's like a Lost Atlantis type city called the Lost Precursor City. There's a swamp level where, you know, it's kind of like the opposite. Like, it's purposely meant to be disgusting, you know, because that's like what it was made for. And there's like, you know, Spider Cave, Snowy Mountain. There are a lot of beautiful locations, and this game really showcased the power of the PS2, especially with what they're trying to go for. The music in this game is also very solid too. In fact, it's one of the, well, maybe not the high points, but it's one of the really good points of this game, because the person who made the soundtrack was the same person that made the Crash Bandicoot soundtrack. Why don't you give it 5 tracks a listen, because they sound very good. I'll give a few for an example to show how great the soundtrack really is. Well, everybody, I guess that's my review of Jak and Daxter. I believe I've covered all topics that need to be covered, and I don't know, like, thinking about these reviews, I don't think these games really need like a direct rating. But I will tell you guys if the game is worth it or not. And I will say that this game is definitely worth it. Especially if you're a big fan of collectathon platformers and open-ended games, you'll love this. Because this game is all about collectathoning, all about, you know, like exploring massive worlds. There's no loading screens except for the ones that they hide. So there's not really that many. But overall, I would say it's a very solid game, and you know, if you got a PS3, PS2, PS4, or even a PS5, I'd recommend giving the game a try on any of those systems, because that's where it's available. Well, thank you guys for watching my retro review. I'll probably be doing Jak 2 and 3 in a couple of weeks, so be sure to check that out. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next review, and I'm out. Peace.